It's my pleasure to introduce my guest, Senator Larissa Waters, the co-leader of Green Australia, and Jo Pratt, Radio 4UB station manager here with us. Welcome, ladies, and I'm happy to have you guys all here. Thank you for your time, Senator.
It's my pleasure. It's lovely to be with you.
Thank you very much. Jo, do you want to start your question?
Yes. So, rather than hammering you with a bunch of questions, I thought we could just have a conversation. Obviously, we're leading into International Women's Day, and you are the spokesperson for women for your party. I think what would be really great is, obviously, that's, I've been watching your career over the last few years, and in particular, I know you're a guest at an event that I was involved in last year, focusing on women. It would be great if you could just maybe share with the audiences a little bit about you personally and how you came to be sitting in this chair.
Sure. Well, I'm a mother of two. I've got two lovely daughters. One's almost 10 and one's just turned 2. Mm-hmm. And my youngest was the child to be breastfed in the federal parliament. So I feel very, very proud to have broken that milestone.
We were actually having that conversation in the car here, how in conversations with people yesterday, that's what they remember you for.
Oh, well, look, any normalising of breastfeeding is a good thing. It's the healthiest option for mum and bub, so we should be able to do it anywhere.
Congratulations on
that. Thank you. So people do tend to remember that, and I hope it helps empower women everywhere to feed their bubs if they're able to do that. So I've been in the parliament since 2011. I had a brief accidental break when I discovered I was a dual citizen, and I stood down immediately, and I feel very lucky to have been able to come back into the role. And I've got wonderful portfolios. I get to speak on issues about equality in women, which I'm very passionate about, and I also get to talk about democracy and cleaning up our politics, getting rid of the influence of big money on our decisions and making it about people again and the world.
And that's a big thing for the Greens in this campaign.
It is. Well, we see so much corporate influence over the bigger parties, and it's no wonder that we have bad policies and people are struggling and doing it tough when the policies are getting made to suit the corporate bottom line and not communities, which is kind of wrong-headed.
It's that and re-election that drives, isn't it? Which is a shame because you'd love a government who just
did the right thing,
had the balls and
had the guts. I think we
say, and actually made some decisions that they knew were. So you studied science and law.
I did. I started off doing a drama degree actually, but then I soon realised I had zero talent, so I moved on. As much as I still love the performing arts.
Yeah,
I'll just watch others do that, I think, and stick to politics. But I studied environmental science and law, and I really liked being able to use law to protect the planet.
Yeah,
and I worked for almost 10 years in a community legal centre, giving free advice on how to protect the environment using our laws, kind of like legal aid for the planet, which I love doing. But
Greens is a natural fit.
Well, that's right. Yeah. I never really contemplated politics until the Greens, and I certainly wouldn't run for any other political party. It's this or nothing for me.
Yeah.
And that ethic of care for people, care for planet really appeals to me as a mum and as someone that thinks we have a real duty to not just future generations, but all of the other creatures that we share this planet with.
Yeah, I noticed. Where did I notice something on your website? 2 things: a fair society and equality for all. And I wondered if you could expand on those a little bit, because I wondered what your viewpoint on those 2 things were, because you've highlighted those on your site.
Yeah, well, I guess at the moment we've got a widening gap between the rich and the poor, and that's really ridiculous, because it's not like we're short of financial means.
Yeah.
We just have a few very wealthy corporations and a few very, very wealthy individuals that are getting to write the rules and look after themselves very nicely. But then there's a growing amount of people that are missing out. There's kids that go to school without breakfast. There's kids that can't go to school at all. There's genuine poverty and need in our community, and I think the role of government should be to help the vulnerable and to provide those essential services to everyone. Absolutely. So that everyone's got a good shot at life and the chance to be the best that they can be.
Yeah, we're not in a country where that shouldn't be possible.
I know. I mean, we are so blessed, and I think here in Australia we lack perspective on the global situation. We are safe, we are rich, we are clean, we have a democracy. It's not perfect, but it's better than a lot of other nations. And yet we still kind of don't realise how lucky and fortunate we are and often take a very narrow-minded approach to the rest of the world.
Yeah, I think so. I do quite a lot of travelling with some of the other stuff that I do, and it's quite often amazing to have conversations with people from other countries at conferences and things who, just look at our situation and go, why are we complaining?
Exactly. We're very much the lucky country. But I mean, that's not to say we don't have our own issues. We still have unaddressed issues with our first Australians. I'm hopeful that we will work towards genuine sovereignty and treaties with our various different First Nations groups, as many of them around the country. So we've still got some real issues to address, and particularly equality for women. We still don't have that yet. There's no reason why we shouldn't have it, but we're still not quite there yet.
And I think some of the stats where we're looking at another 160, if we keep going on the trajectory we're going, there's another 160 years before that's possible.
Too slow. We can't wait that long.
Way too slow. And I think International Women's Day is a gender balanced world, so balance for better. Better the balance, better the world is the theme this year. What do you think, from the Greens' perspective and from your personal perspective, some of the policies that you guys have that would be looking at that as an outcome?
Well, you've mentioned the gender pay gap already, and that's a really important one, because all of the statistics that have been collected for many decades now show that actually women are still not getting paid the same amount, even for exactly the same job, let alone for different jobs that are of equal value. So we have a gender pay gap, and there's no other reason for it but ingrained sexism and discrimination and old-fashioned notions. So fixing that is really important, because, as I'm sure everybody knows, women work all the time. We work when we're getting paid to work, and we go home and we keep working. And we do shoulder much of the domestic load still. If I'm remembering correctly, it's still about 80% of the domestic work that we do, and we don't get paid for that. So we deserve to be paid fairly when we're doing our paid work, and actually I'd love to see us look at paying for that caring work, and there's been some great calls for that in recent weeks, and we'd love to see.
There's some interesting models overseas, particularly in places like Sweden, where those kind of that men staying home is much more common because of the way they balance that and reconcile that financially.
And there's still those cultural norms where, strangely, men think they need to be at work and women need to be at home. We're in a modern world now. Really, you should do what's best for your family, and it should be either or, whatever makes the most sense. And so we need those strong men to stand up and say, yep, I'm staying at home. And my partner does that at the moment, and not without complaint, I might add, but he does a wonderful job, and he's helping to break those stereotypes every day.
So that's good, because I was going to say, with 2 and 1 particularly young child, that a life in politics can't be easy.
Look,
it's not a 9-to-5 job.
It's really not, and it's very difficult, because I don't think we will make change for other women, particularly other young women and women with kids, unless we have young mums in Parliament and in workplaces everywhere. But I can't deny that it is quite a logistical challenge, and I certainly couldn't do what I do without the support of my family, my partner, and my mum in particular. Who's just wonderful. Is a lovely grandmother to my girls. I'm a very, very strong woman and very loving woman. So you do need that help. But I really think that we need women in Parliament so that we can get that structural change, make those changes to workplaces, make those changes to the culture of Parliament itself, so that we can then make better decisions that reflect the full gamut of experience in the Australian community.
I think that's why it was so groundbreaking when you did breastfeed, and then I think you also put forward a bill, didn't you?
I did. I was trying to hold off, but you know what babies are like. They don't wait when they're hungry, so I had to multitask, and I managed, thankfully.
Fantastic. It was fantastic. So one of the things with that theme for International Women's Day is obviously they're talking about the boardroom, government, and then media coverage, employees, wealth and sports coverage. I know the Queensland government, Anastasia Palaszczuk, has been quite... she's been quite driven in terms of board representation. And do you think, I think that's a good first step, because it's often that representation at that upper level which will actually reap some changes, one would hope, down the line. But she's done quite a good job in terms of government boards and having that. I think they're over 50-50 now. I think they made 54% of all Queensland government boards have gender parity. What should be their next step?
Look, that's such a great question, and I do want to commend the Queensland Government for the work they've done in this space, and in particular to have 50-50 women in the Cabinet. Nowhere else in Australia has that, and we here in Queensland have that, so credit where credit is due. I think they've been groundbreaking in that, and the fact that we've recently just had some changes to our pregnancy termination laws and that we've got abortion out of the criminal code, again, very, very overdue, but very welcome that that's now happened. So they've been doing some good work in that space. And I do think it's important that we have women in those senior positions, because you can't be what you can't see. And for the next generation of women, for the younger women, they need to see themselves in all different careers to know that that's a legitimate aspiration that they can have. So it's important from that perspective. But I also want to make sure that women who are in low incomes, who are working long hours, getting paid absolutely nothing, they need policies to help them as well. And at the moment, we're not valuing those types of professions, whether it's childcare, whether it's cleaners, whether it's caring work in the home or in aged care.
Some of the worst paid jobs.
That's right, they're the worst paid jobs, and actually they're some of the most important. You know, those caring roles really shape the kind of community that we are, and they influence the culture and who we are going forward.
When my kids were young, and I have a friend who does childcare, when I found out what sort of salary she was on, I was horrified.
Yes.
Because I'm like, these are the people we entrust our kids to
right,
for sometimes up to 8 or 9
and not just
hours
to keep them safe, but to influence their values and to teach them about leadership, about relationships, about self-confidence, about teamwork, those crucial skills that will shape what our society is like in future.
And it's future.
It's a huge responsibility.
It is, and I mean, they manage it with aplomb. Hats off to them. I certainly couldn't manage a room full of toddlers.
Me either, I'm out. Absolutely.
All right, can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Let's travel 60,000 kilometers further to Iran, to my country. So in my country, there are a lot of talented women, which they're facing some rules from the government that they've been banned from the things that is normal in Australia society. And I can see that they're getting first steps to start their path to break that taboos and start the things. Singing on the scene, being presented as they wish, like cloth and everything. So as a lady, as a senator that broke the taboos in the parliament and do the breastfeeding, which was maybe a taboo before. So what do you think, what would you like to say to the Persian women that's, starting their path to this sort of path?
I would say thank you for your strength and for your determination, and please hold firm against any sort of backlash, whether that's from your immediate family or from your government, because know that you are blazing the trail for women to come. And it's going to take every single one of us, and I hope that we can stand in solidarity with Iranian women and women globally to say you have a place wherever you want to be, whether that's in public life, whether that's equality in your private sphere. We hold up half the sky and we have a massive contribution to make, and we are equal. It's not something we should have to fight for. We are equal, and we need those old systems and structures to recognise that and to allow us to have that platform. So the courage that Iranian women are showing, and particularly really calling out that outdated nonsense that doesn't value women's contribution, it's very powerful. It's helping a lot of other women everywhere, and please keep doing it.
Right. And I think we have a responsibility as women who have that freedom to be that support as however we can, because there's quite a few artists that I know from the Iranian community females who come here so that they can pursue their passion, because they're not allowed to do that.
That's right. And I've got a discussion last night with a couple of friends about what women are behaving in facing these sort of problems. Sometimes women in Iran are accepting these sort of violences against them, and that's the thing that we're trying to tell them, that do something by yourself, don't accept it. Talk about what you like and what clothes are you interested to wear. That's the thing, that it's a kind of self-confidence that the women doesn't have, and we're trying to talk about it more in the program?
Yeah, I think that's so important because we make culture every day. Culture's not static. It's something that we, with our behaviour and our actions and our beliefs and attitudes, we remake it every day. And whilst I accept the enormous pressure that women are under, and I don't wish to downplay that, I know how gutsy you have to be to stand up for what you see as your rights. It's just so important that you find that courage to do it, because otherwise nothing will change. And the more we see women owning their space publicly, speaking up for what their views are, wearing what they want to wear, being in what public area they want to be in, the more that happens, the more it will become normal, and then gradually that culture will change, and the government might even eventually say, oh, okay, we were wrong, women are all right, you know, why don't you come and join us in Parliament? So that's how change happens. It can be very slow and painstaking and hard, but it's got to be done, and every single person can contribute to that.
Yeah, right. Would you like to add anything in your message?
Yeah, look, you mentioned the issue of violence against women, and I want to raise that because sadly that's a real problem globally, and here in Australia we have some pretty bad statistics. It's 1 in 3 women live with violence in from a partner or a former partner. But even in some of our regional communities, in Papua New Guinea, for example, the statistics are more like 9 in 10 women. So we have a global epidemic of violence against women. And it's really important that governments everywhere provide the services that women need in order to escape from that. Often women have to choose between being safe or being homeless. And that's not a choice that anyone should have to make.
We had quite a lot of funding cut not that long ago to frontline service provision.
That's right, about 5 years ago now.
At both levels of government.
Exactly.
And I don't think that has been redressed yet. There's been some movement, but it's not even back to the levels it was before.
That's exactly right, Jo. About 5 years ago, the federal government cut some of that money for housing services, so women's refuges, and for women's legal services. And we fought against that, and we managed to get some of those cuts overturned, but not all of them. But there is still so much unmet need. There is still 1 in 2 phone calls go unanswered because there's simply not enough staff at those community organisations, and there's nowhere to refer those women to. So, you know, we've made some great steps forward in equality in Australia, but we still have these lingering, really huge issues.
I mean, I don't know what the final statistics were last year on deaths.
69 last year, and as of a few days ago it was 8 already this year. So it's more than one woman a week.
You would kind of wonder how any government could find that acceptable.
That's right. And when the Prime Minister thought that there'd be some deaths from strawberries, he was there in a flash. It took him 6 months to mention domestic violence against women. He mentioned it at a breakfast I was at a couple of weeks ago. And it was great to finally hear him acknowledge that it was an issue, but there's still been no funding commitment. There's still no equal representation for women in Parliament. There's still not equal representation on those government boards. All of those societal structures where women aren't yet at equality, that feeds into a culture that legitimises violence or that excuses it. So we've got to fix all of it in order to keep women safe.
And so the paid leave, I mean, that's a small sort of step, but there's so much more that can be done practically as well. Affordable
childcare is a really big one, and we've got some not bad facilities here in Australia, but they're still quite costly and they're still often quite full. You can't, you know, put your little one in for as many days as you'd like, or you've got to wait until they're a bit older before a place becomes available. So making that childcare more accessible and affordable is really important to enable women, if they want to go back into the workplace, to do that. Of course, not everybody does, but we should give women that choice. And paid parental leave, it's been a good initiative, but it's not a lot, and it's not for a full 6 months, and there's no superannuation paid on it. So again, we think it should be for 6 months at least, and we think you should pay superannuation on it, because you shouldn't be financially penalised for the caring work that you do. And we know that by the time you reach retirement, women are retiring with about half as much super, and it's because we take those breaks from our career to have children more so than men do.
It's kind of double, isn't it? It's a double-edged sword. You're already getting a lower pay.
That's right.
In a lot of fields, and then you lose
you're working
those
like stink at home, but you're not getting financially rewarded for that. So
we're
lots
the lucky
to work
country,
on.
but we have a lot
That's
to
right.
do.
That's right. We've got a
Yeah.
lot of privilege and a lot of
We still
blessings,
do.
but we do need to keep working for equality
Yeah.
for women and for all sorts of groups that are not in the majority.
Absolutely.
But we'll get there.
Awesome.
There's a lot of good people that want this and a lot of people that are working for it.
Well,
Yeah, especially
It's,
migrants are happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I just want to congratulate the Women's Day early to you both, ladies.
Yes, and to you. Happy International Women's Day.
Yeah, you too. And I want to thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and you as well. And I'm going to invite you again for the other program.
I would love
maybe
to.
later on.
I would love to.
Thank you.
And
very
it's
much.
great having an all-women session. So well done to you both.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Jo, for your
No
time.
worries. Yeah.
Thank you.